DJ Akademiks is a popular hip-hop media personality who has blown up recently due to his coverage of the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef, specifically as Drake's #1 fanboy. But DJ Akademiks has his own drama at home to deal with, and his skeletons are coming out.
There was a woman that came to my house. That woman claimed she was assaulted.
Fawzia, Zaya Abash, DJ Akademiks' on and off friends with benefits, has accused him and 2 of his associates of engaging in non-consensual activity with her. She says she arrived at his house expecting to meet him, but he was not there. She alleges that she waited for Akademiks with 2 of his associates who forced her to drink alcohol and possibly spiked her drink, leading to her blacking out. The next morning, DJ Akademiks showed her his security footage of her and the 2 men doing what he describes as running a train, and asks her if the actions were consensual.
She was getting trained by my 2 mans, like on my pool deck the night before when I'm sleeping. This is what happened.
I look crazy right now, but I'm not gonna stand here and let this man continue to lie about me. That's not what happened. Akademiks, you know that that's not what happened. And for you to pretend that you didn't do anything, that I just went to your house and I'm just some thought, like we didn't know each other for 2 years. You tried to save yourself after your friends assaulted me. Whether or not you got drunk or not, I know that when you woke up, you were on top of me too.
She claims that it was not, and that she barely remembers anything. At the time, she went to the police but did not pursue the case further. Recently, DJ Akademiks posted about the story publicly without mentioning her name.
She was like, oh, now we were just having fun, blah, 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 blah.
Despite not being mentioned, Zaya was furious that Akademiks claimed she was an SLUT and that the acts were consensual, so she decided to go public with her side and file a civil lawsuit against DJ Akademiks and his associates. People are jumping to conclusions, but the facts paint a cloudy picture. What really happened that night? And DJ Akademiks isn't as clean as people think. I've dug up some of his shady past, including his prior dealings with women and even minors. And I found some things nobody is talking about. Let's investigate. DJ Akademiks' real name is Livingston Allen. I don't trust anyone with 2 first names. Having his first and last name swapped, I trust him even less. He's a Jamaican-born disc jockey and media personality who grew his audience covering gang activity in Chicago, dubbed the War in Chirac, along with hip-hop culture. His career peaked in early 2024 for his coverage of the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef, even getting featured in Lamar's diss track 616 in LA. On his streams and podcasts, he gives off a low-key chill vibe, but watch him long enough and you will see he is prone to outbursts and rants showing his lack of general morals and concern for others. It's remarkable to me how much these guys tell on themselves publicly too these days. Here he is admitting to his interest in minors.
In the scheme of things, there's not much difference between a 20 or a 17 or a 21 and a 17. Just kind of mean one's a minor and one's not a minor. But I will say, listen, I adopted this rule, which I think it was fine. I said, listen, man, as long as a chick got a college ID, she's getting f***ed. I don't care if she's 17. I don't care if she's 17 and a half. I don't care if she just turned 17. She's going to get this.
I'll admit I liked him at first when he called out Fresh on Fresh and Fit, but that admiration quickly evaporated once I learned who he really is. Now it's time to determine whether he's an evil criminal or just an uncaring loudmouth alcoholic.
For probably the last 10 years or so, 10, 12 years, I've drank almost damn near every day.
If you're feeling down, don't resort to alcohol. What you really need is therapy. Thanks to today's sponsor, BetterHelp, we can all have access to a therapist who can provide us with helpful, unbiased advice if our mental health is suffering. I went to therapy a couple years ago when I really needed it and would recommend others doing the same. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to be a support system while you're in need. They offer access to over 30,000 therapists, allowing you to find the best match for your needs. Starting therapy is challenging, with many finding it difficult to connect with someone in their area or with the experience of face-to-face communication. Since everyone has a different need, BetterHelp provides a questionnaire in order for them to assess how to best match you with a therapist. The therapist they pick for you will have tons of experience dealing with whatever you're going through. Every single one of their therapists is licensed, has a master's or doctorate degree, and has spent over 3 years and 1,000 hours working with people just like you. And if you need to switch therapists for whatever reason, BetterHelp makes it easy to switch with no cost or worry. If you think therapy is for you, you can join the over 4 million people who have used BetterHelp. Use my link betterhelp.com/Spencer Cornelia or choose Spencer Cornelia during signup for a special discount off your first month of therapy. The civil lawsuit filed in New Jersey details horrifying events that took place at DJ Akademiks' home in July 2022. Let's meet the parties involved. Fawzia Abash, a writer from Pennsylvania, Livingston Allen, aka DJ Akademiks, and yes, this is the photo they used in the case file. John Doe 1 identified as Khalif, who was easy to find on LinkedIn, having DJ Akademiks LLC listed on his profile. I'm not sure why he's listed as a John Doe along with his first name. And finally, we have John Doe 2 identified as Slime. I'm not sure if he's King Slime from Dragon Quest or Slimer from Ghostbusters, or possibly named after a gang term.
The S is for slow, the L is for love, the I is for I, the M is for me, and the E for everything.
Fawzia did not meet Khalif or Slime until the night of the alleged events, but had been casually dating Akademiks on and off for about 2 years. According to Miss Abash, she met Mr. Allen online via social media on or about 2021. At this time, Miss Abash lived in Pennsylvania. She did not have transportation, so Mr. Allen would send her a car service, such as Uber and Lyft, to pick her up.
I paid the Lyft was like $200, nigga. She lived, I don't even want to say where she lived.
$200 Uber, bro, you can't afford women in your own area code? I guess he's just trying to keep up with Luda. I've got hoes in different area codes, I've got hoes. On July 16, 2022, Mr. Allen contacted Miss Abash and invited her to visit him in his house in New Jersey. Miss Abash did not suspect any ill intentions, even though it had been almost a year since they last saw each other. Something's not adding up here. According to her, they met in 2021, hadn't seen each other in a year, and then this incident occurred in mid-2022, but DJ Akademiks posted he'd messed with her for years, so how could they have known each other for years and met up more than just a couple times? Before her arrival, Mr. Allen had notified his friends that a woman would be coming over, and she was on a different type of vibes. A different type of vibes is an indication that Miss Abash would be coming over to engage in X-rated activity. DJ Akademiks confirms this.
This is before, when I was going to the party, I was like, yo, I'm about to get this girl coming over later for me, but she telling me she on some different vibes.
Akademiks claims that his boys may have took his comments the wrong way, but the question is, why even mention this in the first place? He wasn't a virgin who needed to brag to his friends about bringing a girl over to his house. It seems odd to mention this at all. When Miss Abash arrived at Mr. Allen's home, everything seemed normal apart from the neighborhood power outage. Khalif, a friend of Mr. Allen, greeted her. Miss Abash was taken aback because Mr. Allen did not tell her anyone else would be at his house upon her arrival. She did not suspect anything suspicious, so she entered the home. So Khalif introduces her to Slime and they offer her a drink. She refuses and opts to make her own drink, but they insist. This could have just been polite, but in the context of what followed, this seems sketchy, especially since she had been there before and was used to getting her own drinks at his house. Khalif tells her he is in charge until Akademiks gets back. As we know from his LinkedIn, he was Akademiks' manager or employee. This calms her fears and she lets him fix her drink. As the trio conversed, Miss Abash asked for Mr. Allen and was told to hold on. John Doe 1 then left the kitchen to find Mr. Allen, and when he came back, he said Mr. Allen would join them shortly. If true, this was a complete lie, as Akademiks was out at a party and would not return until hours later, the third red flag so far for those counting. Miss Abash recalls having an eerie feeling, but she ignored it because she did not believe that Mr. Allen, whom she had known for nearly 2 years, would harm her or allow her to be harmed. Shortly after the power had returned, John Doe 1 asked if Miss Abash wanted to use the hot tub or the pool and wait for Mr. Allen there. Miss Abash did not suspect anything, as she was accustomed to using the hot tub and pool when she previously visited. She was also under the impression that John Doe 1 and John Doe 2 would leave after putting the hot tub on. Shortly after, John Doe 1 appeared from inside the house and proceeded to join her in the hot tub. Shortly after that, John Doe 2 appeared with a bottle of alcohol and began forcing her to take shots of the alcohol. She vaguely remembers John Doe 2 nervously pacing around. After this, she says she felt strange, different from intoxicated, as she had only half of the first drink and a few sips of a new drink. She felt extremely lightheaded, dizzy, and like her body was on fire. Regardless whether this was simply alcohol forced upon her or a more sinister substance they slipped her, the claims made here are pretty dire. The more intoxicated a woman becomes, the less coherent she is, which at some point, as we'll see in a minute, makes her incapable of consent. When alcohol is involved, the lines often become blurred, but I think it's clear that no one should be pressured or forced into drinking. According to Miss Abash, she recalls John Doe 1 becoming very handsy as he aggressively made advances towards her, which she rejected. John Doe 1 would not take no for an answer and began touching her. He eventually picked her up and tossed her into the pool. As she attempted to crawl out of the pool, John Doe 1 attacked her. He forcibly removed her underwear, opened her legs, and began screwing her with his erect part. Miss Abash did not consent. Miss Abash has memories of fighting off her attackers but feeling extremely weak. The next part is stomach churning. I've blurred the image from the case file. It's that bad. As she laid lifeless on the concrete, John Doe 1 was standing in the pool while shifting her lifeless body back and forth on the concrete. The two men then proceeded to R-word Miss Abash simultaneously. Here are images of the injuries she suffered while being dragged across the pool deck. Before we get to DJ Akademiks' role in all this, I think it's clear that if these allegations are true, Akademiks is, at minimum, responsible for setting up this situation and extremely negligent for allowing it to occur, regardless of whether he intended to or not. According to Miss Abash, she recalls being awake and naked in a bed in what she believed was Mr. Allen's bedroom. She believes this was around 4 a.m. She was awoken by Mr. Allen savagely pulling her hair, prying open her legs, and brutally R-wording her. The most charitable explanation for this would be that Ak was drunk, incoherent, and had previously engaged in consensual relations with Miss Abash, so he did not realize her distress and the mental and physical state she was in, having just been R-worded by his friends. Mr. Allen was not using protection when he R-worded Miss Abash, as evidenced by the purported discovery of his spermicide on the R kit. This part is quite confusing as the reference is to spermicide, which would come from a condom, not his own DNA. The next morning, Akademiks showed her a trash can with 2 wrappers in it and asked if she remembered it. It's unclear who, if any of the 3 men, actually used them. The next part is even stranger. Mr. Allen showed her surveillance footage of John Doe 1 R-wording her briefly and skipped through the video. Mr. Allen then assured her that everything was okay. He asked her where her clothing was. Ms. Abash later learned from police that Mr. Allen disposed of several items at the dumpster near his office. After this, we learned that on her way home in her Lyft, she asked Akademiks to send her proof of both of the men engaging with her since he only showed her one. He responded by sending her a screenshot of the incident. Why would a guilty man show her a surveillance video she didn't know existed and then send her a screenshot so she has proof? Things don't seem to add up, so here's my take. DJ Akademiks thought everything was fine and nothing bad went down, so he had nothing to hide. But once he realized that his boys might have actually done some horrible things to her, he tried to calm her down and cover all tracks, knowing he was responsible for putting her in that situation. After she arrived home, the reality of what happened set in, and she also began feeling intense pain. She texted Akademiks, wanting to know if there would be repercussions if she were to seek help. She asked for complete footage, and it was then that he suggested she get tested. "I'm going to get tested this week. Think you should too, to make sure you're good." "Yes, I'm going now. I'm hurt really bad. It's unlike me to do this, and I don't even know the other guy's name, so I was just laying there." "You called?" "I'm considering going in for an R-word testing kit for us to figure this out, because it bits and pieces I remember and I'm still not okay." "I mean, not sure what you want me to say. That's why I asked you while you were here if everything you did while I was sleeping you were okay with doing, and you said yeah, so I don't know." "I was passed out for most of it, but I'd wake up now and then. Also, I was in shock. I got most of the information from you. Before then, I never met the other guy, so he just took the opportunity, I guess. That's why I told you I don't judge, just trying to make sure you made the choice to do whatever you wanted to do. Always with you, but not this time around. I blacked out. I remember you waking me up during the night. They said you were trying to call and bring your friend to join in, LOL." These text messages raise some interesting questions. Akademiks suggesting they both get tested implies that he didn't use protection, but also that the other 2 men didn't either. But then, why did he find wrappers in the trash can? Here, Akademiks seems to express genuine concern for her, but also could have just been trying to calm her down and cover his and his friend's tracks. His last LOL downplays the seriousness of the situation and seems callous. This leads me to believe that Akademiks actually believed everything was consensual and cannot accept that his friends would be capable of doing something so awful. Miss Abash called the police and reported an incident of SA. She went to the hospital where the R-word test was performed. During the meeting with the police, a statement was taken, photos of her bruises and scars were taken, and the officers asked her to participate in a recorded wire call with Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen graphically recounts and admits to having intercourse with Miss Abash, stating, "I know what your P-word feels like. That thing felt loose." This evidence was used to obtain a warrant for the footage. It should be obvious by now that DJ Akademiks isn't the brightest person in the world, so against his lawyer's recommendations, he goes on social media and blabs about the entire incident. Regardless of guilt or innocence, you should never do this. Key points Akademiks mentions are he comes home drunk from a party, his friends wake him up at 4 a.m. to tell him they're leaving, he says he forgot about the girl he invited, which is very strange. Also strange is the fact that he invited her over from 2 hours away, but then went to a party without telling her. He goes to wake her up, but we know from the police call that he admitted having intercourse with her. He admits he told his friends that she was promiscuous, and he saw them running a train on her on his security footage. In this post, he accuses her of doing everything voluntarily, which opens him up to defamation liability. The lawsuit concludes with 4 causes of action: negligent infliction of emotional distress, defamation per se, SA, negligence, premises liability for the Miss Abash is demanding a trial by jury with damages to be determined at trial. Her lawyer representing her is Tyrone Blackburn, the same lawyer representing the woman who sued Diddy. Some people are making this out to be a money grab since this lawyer does high-profile cases, but considering all the horrible information coming out about Diddy, I don't see it that way. And DJ Akademiks' reaction after this came out doesn't exactly scream innocence.
Let me tell you this about everybody in the industry. I'm going to tell y'all all this right now. If Ak ever goes down, y'all all go down with me, because I hold no secrets for nobody.
If you're wondering why this case was filed civilly and not criminally, there could be many reasons for this. The burden of proof is much lower, and the gray areas surrounding intoxication and consent are much easier to weigh when a criminal conviction and lengthy prison sentence are not at stake. Also, monetary restitution for the victim, while easier to obtain, may also be more desired. As the criminal case against DJ Akademiks appears much weaker than the charges levied at his friends, the civil complaint against him have a much higher chance of success due to his clear liability in this case for inviting her and her attackers to his home and allowing the incident to take place on his property. All jokes aside, SA is not funny and should always be taken seriously. We as a society have to be careful prematurely casting stones in the public eye, as in the case of Johnny Depp, Trevor Bowers, and others. However, we cannot risk letting criminals off the hook either. Some women will take rich and successful men to court just for a payday, but many others suffer the real consequences of aggression. Often, the truth is likely somewhere in between, and it's important for us to take a look at all the facts. I've done my best to do that here, and you can draw your own conclusions. Thanks for watching.